They saw me before they knew me, and that was the problem. A beat-up truck, a tired black guy in a hoodie midnight at a lonely gas station off Highway 19, the kind of place where the lights flicker like they're thinking about quitting and the air smells like diesel and bad decisions. 3 sentences in, and you already know how this usually goes, right? Yeah, that happened. And for most people who look like me in places like that, the story ends with a ticket at best, a cell at worst, and nobody ever hearing the full truth. But this night went sideways in a way none of us expected. I'd been driving for hours, muscle memory doing most of the work, brain half on the road and half on the reason I was really there. Because I wasn't just hauling freight. I was working a case deep undercover chasing whispers about a county where traffic stops were basically ATMs with sirens. Cash seizures, fake probable cause drivers bullied into silence because fighting back costs more than losing $800 on the side of the road. And the pattern was ugly. Same stretch of highway, same types of drivers, same names on the reports. So yeah, I pulled into Parker's Mart looking exactly like the kind of guy they thought they could own for the next 20 minutes. The cruiser rolled in, slow-blocked my exit like it was second nature. 2 doors opened, one young deputy trying hard to look tough, one older sergeant who didn't need to try at all because he'd been doing this longer than the paint on that badge had been shiny. The younger one smiled like we were pals. "Long night," he said. I kept my eyes on the pump. "Just working," I told him. "Same as you." The older one laughed, spat tobacco juice near my boot, and said something about drugs and cash and people who didn't belong. Then he called me son in that way that isn't friendly, you know what I mean? That word landed heavy, like a reminder of where he thought I sat in the food chain. I felt it, that familiar heat in my chest, the urge to end it right there. But I swallowed it. Because this wasn't about pride. It was about proof. The younger deputy tapped my lights with his baton, claimed I had one out. I knew I didn't. We'd checked everything, but I played tired, shrugged, said I'd fix it after fueling. He stepped closer, too close, and asked why I looked nervous. I told him the truth. "I'm tired." He grinned and turned to his sergeant. "Sarge, he's shaking. That's probable cause, right?" And just like that, the tone changed. Hands on the truck. Step away. Don't move. The whole script they'd probably run 100 times before. They patted me down, rough, took my pocket knife, yanked my wallet. $800 inside, just enough to make their eyes light up. "That's a lot of cash," the kid said. "Per diem," I told him. "Company policy." The sergeant didn't care. He nodded toward my cab and told me to unlock it. That's when I said it clear and calm, loud enough for the mic under my shirt to hear. "I don't consent to a search. I haven't committed a crime." He laughed in my face and said the magic words. "We smell marijuana." The kid backed him up without even looking. "Strong odor," he said. "Real strong." I told him it was a lie. The sergeant snapped his baton open and threatened to break my window and drag me in for obstruction. And standing there, palms on cold steel, I realized how easy this had been for them for years. How normal. Like ordering coffee. I sighed like a man giving up and told them where the keys were. The kid climbed into my cab like he owned it, and that's when things took a turn I didn't expect. I heard drawers slam, the sleeper mattress flip, then silence. "Sarge," he yelled, voice sharp with excitement. "You gotta see this." He leaned out, holding a black-wrapped brick vacuum sealed clean. Too clean. My stomach dropped. That wasn't part of the plan. Cash was one thing. Planting that much dope meant they were playing a darker game. "That's not mine," I said. The sergeant didn't answer with words. He grabbed the back of my neck and slammed my face into the trailer. Metal rang. Blood hit my tongue. "Shut your mouth," he screamed. "You're under arrest. 20 years. Then his voice softened, almost friendly. "Unless we work something out." He leaned in close, whispering about more cash safes making the brick disappear. The extortion was right there, naked and ugly. I spit blood and looked him in the eye. And here's the thing. The fear he expected to see. It wasn't there anymore. "You want to know what's in the truck?" I asked quietly. He smiled. "Tell me." "Cameras," I said. His smile cracked. I told him about the 4 cameras the satellite uplinked the cloud server. How everything they'd done was already gone, already saved. The kid froze. The sergeant loosened his grip like the world had shifted an inch. He called me a liar. I told the kid to rip the passenger visor. He did. And there it was, a tiny red light blinking back at him. Recording. The kid's voice shook when he said it out loud. The sergeant went pale. I straightened up, wiped my lip, and let my voice settle into something calm and final. "My name's Agent Cole Dawson," I said. federal public integrity. Silence dropped hard. The kid started babbling about satellites and how the video was already gone. The sergeant didn't move. His hand slid toward his gun. I told him to put it away, said backup was coming. He laughed low and mean and said video was just pictures without a witness. Then he turned to his partner and started talking about what happens if I don't testify, about cages, about losing everything. The kid hesitated. Then I watched his fear twist into resolve. That's the moment I knew we were past reason. The sergeant raised his gun and ordered me to my knees. I didn't kneel, because kneeling there would have been an execution. I told him not to do it, told him the federal government would tear this county apart. He said they'd just call it a tragedy. Black truck driver with heroin attacks officers. My mind went razor sharp. I saw sweat on his nose, the tremor in the kid's trigger finger. I needed chaos. "Wait!" I shouted. The audio's live. My supervisor's listening. They both glanced at the cab. Just for a second. I grabbed the fuel hose and yanked it hard, spraying diesel straight into the kid's face. He screamed, fired blind shots cracking into the night. I dove behind the engine block as bullets sparked off pavement. My heart was trying to punch out of my ribs. I ran for the back of the trailer, thinking woods, thinking cover. Then I heard the cruiser engine roar. The kid tried to run me down headlights, blinding, smashed into a stack of tires where I'd been a second earlier. I rolled, came up, and then the sergeant hit me like a freight train. His forearm crushed my throat. Air vanished. I hit the ground, staring at the stars, choking. He stood over me, gun leveled, ranting about his county, his rules. I thought about my wife. I thought about every driver who'd been robbed on that road. I rasped out one last warning. He smiled and said he was the law. His finger tightened. And then the sky exploded. The ground started vibrating before the sound hit like thunder rolling through concrete. A blinding white light slammed down, turning the gas station into a black and white photograph. The helicopter dropped low rotors, chopping the night to pieces. Dust and trash flew everywhere. The sergeant jerked his arm up, aim-ruined panic finally cracking through his face. Black SUVs poured in from both entrances, lights off until the last-second doors flying open, boots hitting pavement in unison. Voices boomed through amplifiers. Federal agents, "Drop the weapon now." Red laser dots danced across his chest and face. The kid was already face down in diesel, sobbing, yelling that he surrendered. The sergeant stared at his gun, then let it fall. Zip ties snapped tight. Control restored in seconds. Someone knelt beside me, checking my neck, telling me to stay down. I lied and said I was fine. I wasn't, but I needed to see it. They helped me up the world spinning, and I walked over as they hauled the sergeant to his feet. Without the shades, without the swagger, he looked small. I didn't gloat. I didn't yell. I tossed the fake wallet onto the hood of the wrecked cruiser, then pulled out my real badge. The gold caught the lights. "You have the right to remain silent," I told him. "For once, you should use it." And as they shoved him into a federal vehicle, something heavy finally lifted off my chest. What people don't realize is that moments like that are just doors opening. While I was bleeding on concrete, teams were hitting houses, offices, evidence rooms. They found the ledger. Names, dates, percentages, judges, contractors. A whole county built on quiet theft. The arrests came fast. The video went everywhere. Suddenly the drivers nobody listened to had proof, and the road wasn't a hunting ground anymore. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable, because life doesn't wrap things up neatly. One cop talked. One tried to act untouchable. The courts did what they do, and people still argue about what justice really looks like. Because when someone who abused power ends up powerless when they face the same cages they used as threats, is that justice revenge or a failure of the system? I don't have a clean answer. I just know this. A year later, I drove back through there. New gas station. Bright lights. Families laughing. A young deputy nodded at my badge, no fear, no swagger. Just normal. And that felt like a win. So I'll leave you with this. When authority crosses the line and the system finally catches up, what does fair look like to you? Is prison enough? Should the system protect people it failed to restrain, or does real accountability have to hurt to mean anything? And if you've ever been judged, bullied, or underestimated just for existing, I want to hear that too. Drop it in the comments. Let's talk about it. And if this story hits somewhere personal, like it, subscribe and stick around, because these conversations don't end when the lights go out. They're just getting started.